Hi boys and girls, it's Aunt Molly. How are you? I decided to start a little earlier today. In truth, my energy is better earlier in the day. And I decided to take my walk early this morning so I wouldn't have all that stuff that gives me allergies in my chest as I was trying to breathe and read. And so I feel rested and a little bit better to read today. We finished our Raggedy Ann series yesterday, but I had such a good time having Raggedy Ann as my reading partner. I think I'm just going to keep her here for a while. I still haven't looked for that other doll, but I will. I will. I'll bring out other toys. I have a lot of vintage toys. People just kept giving me dolls, so I just kept accepting them because they had to have a home somewhere, didn't they? They might as well be with Aunt Molly, right? Besides, I have kids over and they play and whatnot. I'm fixing Raggedy's hair. What did I do today? Let's see. I made breakfast and then I made a lovely turkey chili in my crock pot for lunch. It was delicious, but it was a little too hot. And I took a walk and I went to the post office and mailed some masks I had made for my friend Joanne. I mailed her 2 of them, and the postal workers didn't have on any masks or gloves, so I offered to make masks for the post office near my house, and they gladly accepted. I talked to the postmaster today, so I'm going to make some masks for them. Isn't that nice? And I think next week I'm going to start on some projects with you guys. Maybe I'll film them this afternoon and I'll start posting them, but I might do a few little projects. Like, I don't know if you guys knew, but I drew and illustrate, and I myself wrote a children's book, which I never finished illustrating. Sometimes I have this fear of failure, but it's a really cute children's story. I might just illustrate it and let you guys watch, and I'll have to copyright it, and then I'll read it online to you guys. It's really cute. It's called Madison's Magnificent Castle. 3 guesses what it's about. But anyway, today I'm going to read an Andersen fairy tale. I have never heard of this before. I have never seen it before. I know nothing about it. So I'm going to be reading it for the first time too. And if it's a little grim or old-fashioned or whatever, I'm going to find it out at the same time you do. So, because I didn't read this or anything. So we'll just see how this goes. So I'm going to go into the first part of this book this story called The Shadow by Andersen's Fairy Tales, okay? So without further ado, I've got my crazy hat. Do you have your crazy hat today? I have a little cheap fedora. We got to get it at a sassy angle, guys. Do you have your hat, and can you put it at a sassy angle for me is the question. Are the questions. That's actually 2 questions, isn't it? Raggedy, behave. Okay. Glasses. Check, check. Right? Okay, hair, check. Okay, we're ready. The Shadows. Andersen's Fairy Tales. Okay? It is in the hot lands that the sun burns. Maybe it's her being dusty that bugs me because I can feel it in my throat right now. Just a second. She might have to be washed. It is in the hot lands that the sun burns, sure enough. There are people that become quite a mahogany brown. I'm just telling you old books. You don't know what's going to happen. And in the hottest lands, they are okay. I cannot read the sentence. I am censoring this sentence, okay? But now it is only to the hot lands that a learned man had come from the cold. There he had thought that he could run about just as when he was at home, but he soon found out his mistake. He and all sensible folks were obliged to stay within doors. The window shutters and doors were closed the whole day. It looked as if the whole house slept, or as if there were no one at home. The narrow street with the high houses was built so that the sunshine must fall there from morning till evening. It was really not to be borne. The learned man from the cold lands, he was a young man and seemed to be a clever man, sat in a glowing oven. It took effect on him and he became quite meager. I think that means poorly, okay? Even his shadow shrunk in. for the sun had also had an effect on it. It was the first towards evening when the sun was down that they began to freshen up again. In the warm lands, every window has a balcony, and the people came out on the balconies in the street, for one must have air, even if one is accustomed to the sun. Had to censor a little bit there too. I will, kids, just like if I'm reading to you in person, if I don't like what an old-fashioned book is saying, a sentence is going to be omitted. Sorry, I'm going to censor it a little bit. That's just me. This is public domain, so it's okay for me to do that because the copyright is expired and the authors have been in heaven quite some time, and times have changed, and there's just certain things we don't say. Okay. In the warm land, oh, blah, 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 blah. It was lively. Oh, Raggedy, my, you're going to have a bath. Wow, you're dusty. It was lively both up and down the street. Tailors and shoemakers and all the folks moved out into the street. Chairs and tables were brought forth, candles burned. Yes, above 1,000 lights were burning, and they didn't have electricity back then. This is a really old book, by the way. And the one talked and the other sung, and people walked and church bells rang, and donkeys went along with a dingle-dingle-dong around their neck, for they too had bells on. The street boys were screaming and hooting and shouting and shooting, and with devils and deteriorating toys, and there came bearers and wood wearers, for there were psalms and hymns, and then the din of carriages driving and company arriving. Yes, it was, in truth, a lively enough street, all the way down the street. Only in that single house which stood opposite that in which the learned foreigner lived, well, I'm going to let that pass. It was quite still, and yet someone lived there, for there stood flowers in the balcony. They grew so well in the sun's heat, and that they could not do unless they were watered, and someone must water them. There must be somebody there. The door opposite was also open late in the evening, but it was dark within, at least in the front room. Further in there was heard the sound of music. The learned person thought it was quite marvelous, but now it might be only that he imagined it, for he found everything marvelous out there in the warm lands, if there had only been no sun. The stranger's landlord said that he didn't know who had taken the house opposite. One saw no person about, and as to music, it appeared to him to be extremely tiresome. It is as if someone sat there and practiced a piece that he could not master. Always the same piece. I shall master it, says he, but he cannot master it, however long he plays. All right, well, I think that is a stopping place. And forgive me if I have to censor this every once in a while. I am not just, couple 100-year-old stories sometimes aren't very PC, so I'm going to be PC about that. But I love you guys, and I think I may work on some projects for you guys to look at over the weekend on top of story time, or maybe in lieu of story time, I don't know. But I love you guys, and I want to send hugs and kisses out to Bee and Harry. I miss you guys, and Raggedy Ann sends hugs and kisses too. Mwah! And I hope you're going to have a good weekend. All right, talk to you next time. Bye.